I know. Trust me. I know. You see this random guy pop up again after so many weeks, maybe months, and you just see him here posting a video once again after leaving. And I know that some people are going to be a little bit heated. But you got to remember one thing. I'm here now, and the past is in the past. Let's move. Let's look forward to the future. You know what I say? That's what I always say. Look forward to the future. But first things first, Merry Christmas to y'all. I know Christmas has just passed, but I'm still feeling in a jolly mood. So, Merry Christmas to y'all real quick. So, since it's been a while since I last been on the channel, why don't y'all type below pretty much how y'all been feeling, how y'all been doing. It's always nice to read y'all comments, as I have to admit, you guys have very interesting perspectives on my what ifs, or you guys just tell me something interesting every day. And honestly, I do like reading your comments, and it's been a while since I last read them. So type down below anything you want to type down below, I guess. What you feeling? How's your Christmas? How anything been going? Anything you really feel like. As long as it's appropriate, because, YouTube. But moving on, guys, listen. I've been having this part in the back burner for a while now. I was going to post it on Christmas, but then I realized it was Christmas. And that, when it's Christmas, it's Christmas. So I kind of just lost the motivation instantly. But that motivation came right back right after Christmas. So this is why I'm posting now. So y'all, why don't y'all sit back, relax, get a snack. And now it's time for me to give you the final part to What If Asta Was Fujitora's Reincarnation. Part 11. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And with that, let's begin.
You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do?
Alright guys, let's begin this what if. Hopefully you guys do enjoy, and either way, let's begin. Now to start off with this what if, we're going to kick off where we last left off. Asta had just defeated Licht in combat, and due to that, ended the elf reincarnation process. So pretty much the elves had lost before they even got a chance to be reincarnated. Now due to this, Asta had followed Licht's plans, and due to this, the rest of the members of the Island of Midnight Sun were eventually captured and stored away. For questioning, of course. Another thing that ended up happening though was that due to Asta defeating Licht, he had also stopped Zegred's plans. As him being fully, being fully awakened, having his own grimoire, and pretty much being at the pinnacle of his power, was now removed and, removed from his grasp at the very instance of Asta and Liebe. So due to that, he swore vengeance on them like a typical anime anime villain, sorry. But moving on, we'll now do a week time skip, well actually 2 weeks actually, as now the Clover Kingdom was now recovering from everything that happened. Now luckily not as a lot of damage has happened thanks to the fact that the Midnight Sun, thanks to the elf ring, in the main timeline, the elves actually did a lot of damage to the Clover Kingdom and all around the Clover Kingdom realm. But luckily, now that they had been stopped before any of that stuff happened, no real damage was made, except for, a few trauma-like incidents when they tried to attack the entire Clover Kingdom to defeat Julius. Which, speaking of Julius, you will now be seeing him alive again, as we already know this in the canon, where he turned out to be alive after using a magical device that the first Wizard King had created along with Nero. So after all this has happened, you will see Julius in his childlike form as he begins to explain to Asta, Noelle, Mimosa, and Yami as we are all currently right now in his presence. Now all the Magic Knights know that he's still alive, but Julius is of course hiding it from the public in order to make sure that everyone is calm and realize that, the Clover Kingdom has lost their Wizard King, since now he can't even fight. But he did want to reveal to them that he had currently 3 visions, where these 3 visions would actually be warped because of the fact of Asta in the story. Now, I usually do this now concerning the fact that I just find it to make the story way more interesting. Plus, I also like the idea of, Asta being in an anomaly and him just warping the very presence of the Black Clover world. So let me just explain it real quick. Thanks to Asta's presence in this world as well as his abilities, Asta has warped the vision that, Julius would see. And those 3 visions would mean the fact that the new world is now approaching. Yes, a new era is now setting stone into the world of Black Clover. As now that everything has begun to slowly calm down and go to an end, he realized that now everything is kind of transforming. Everything is in the uplifting, and there will be a big shift into the world, and it's going to be happening soon into the future. Another thing we end up seeing would be a war that will be happening in the world of Black Clover. Now, the outcome of the war would not really be shown to Julius, only the fact of all the destruction now be caused. And so far, they will see that one side was definitely suffering the most. And the final vision that he saw will be 3 individuals. Yes, 3 of them. As each one of these individuals will be making a genomic shift in the world. Now, although 2 of them were still unknown as he had not been able to see them completely, one of them was very obvious, as this will be Asta. Except he will look much older than he does currently right now, and he'll be wearing a suspiciously looking robe, something he had never seen in his world. As with all that being concluded, everyone would just be there actually in shock as they just realized that so far things seem to be turning out great except for that war. So after seeing these visions, this is when Julius then devised a plan. Normally in the main timeline, Asta would go off to court because, the whole Zegrid incident and people accusing him of being the demon and everything. But since Zegrid had not made his appearance known, and since no real damage has been really done to the Clover Kingdom, that's all been avoided. But instead, we're going to just jump into the mission, as this is when Julius then informs the Black Bulls that he has a mission for them, to pretty much go explore the Heart Kingdom, as over there, things have been, kind of hectic since he had heard rumors about the Spade Kingdom growing in strength. And due to that, he wants to actually make a peace treaty with the Heart Kingdom as a way of making them an alliance. And after hearing this, the Black Bulls, of course, instantly agreed to this one, as this is when the teams will be formed just like in canon, with Mimosa tagging along since she was the only one of them that actually knew where the Heart Kingdom was. So with that, they would then go on off their journey, with Finral still having that little pep talk with his brother, as he promised to grow as a better person for his fiancée. So moving on, we will now move towards the Black Bulls as they eventually arrive at the Heart Kingdom. Events will play out the same as soon as they arrive, they will see Gaijin, who is casually just flying in the air, and Asta will then be seen taken away by the water and taken out the boat, as he'll be dragged to a different location of the Heart Kingdom. Now eventually Gaijin would fight the rest of the members there, Mimosa, Noelle, and Finral, but they were actually keeping up with him relatively well. However, the one thing that he was actually impressed about was the fact that these guys were way stronger than in canon. And these, Noelle and Finral, not Mimosa really. She hasn't really trained that much. She's still the same level as she was in canon. But still, just Finral and Mimosa alone, just Finral and Noelle alone were pretty much able to give Gaijin a hard time, and he was only barely able to keep up with them, especially when both of them were working together. Back with Asta would arrive back at the location where he sees the water spirit of Lilliputichika as she was currently taunting Asta. She began to say that he didn't really look like much, as she would try to play around with him, but Asta wasn't focusing on her. Using observation hockey, he could already sense another individual in the room, as soon as he turns into the location where Lilliputichika is, he decides to end this off quickly. So using his Zushi no Mi to lift up the gravity up from him and allowing him to move a little bit much more faster now, he ends up spinning at rapid speeds using, of course, the Zushi no Mi. I'm probably just going to say Devil Fruit from now on, considering the fact that it's really hard to say that multiple times. By the way, he would use it to increase the power of his swing by adding gravity to it, and due to that, he'll be making a ginormous whirlpool and soon a ginormous water tornado that would completely end up lifting him up into the air. This will surprise the water spirit, as this is when suddenly Asta will then use and manipulate the ginormous water tornado to slam him into the area where Lilliputichika is. Asta would arrive there with a calm facade, only to have that break in an instant since Lilliputichika was in the midst of changing. So after a bunch of comedic things begin to go down, we eventually get everyone gathered up into this one location, where they end up getting informed about Lilliputichika, the Heart Kingdom, the Spade Kingdom and their growing forces, and of course Lilliputichika's curse. These would be the main things that end up getting explained in the situation, and when the Clover Kingdom actually asked for an alliance, she would full-heartedly agree, only to say that currently as they are currently, they don't stand a chance against the Spade Kingdom. Now, although she would say this though, she would say this with a little bit of hesitation, considering the fact that when it comes to all of them so far, there will only be like a few individuals in the Clover Kingdom that would actually be able to keep up with them at this point of the story. One of them being, of course, Yami, one of them being, of course, Asta, since, Asta is always training at this point. And although they definitely had their own abilities, Asta's connection with Libe was way stronger than in canon at this point. But after explaining all this, explaining that they need time to train, they would all instantly agree to this, especially since the Black Bulls were way more fired up and motivated than in canon. So with that, we can now move forward once again with the 6-month time skip. During the 6 months time skip, everyone began to develop their own skills and abilities. One thing that you actually end up realizing is the fact that Asta in this situation played a main role in, training everyone else. Let me explain this, and let me just touch upon this subject a little bit more. So, as the 6 months training was going by, after the very first month, Asta was already increasing in strength much faster than most people. Now, the Black Bulls were definitely increasing in strength as well, and the other Magic Knight squads also noticed this. They pushed themselves even further, but the thing is, the Black Bulls were increasing at such a rapid rate that it was honestly very difficult to even see them as human. So, due to this, after a while of just training, Asta was actually called upon by Julius as he begins to actually ask Asta about his secret. Now, Asta, of course, is not one to just hide away the knowledge, right? It's not like he was hiding away the knowledge of, hockey and everything. This is a simple thing is he didn't really see himself really using it or using it to help someone who doesn't want to be helped. If you're not going to ask someone for something, then what's the point of him telling you something? But nonetheless, Asta would tell Julius about exactly what he was doing, pretty much explaining that this was just a new training method that he had been teaching the squad since he joined. Now, of course, after hearing this, Julius was interested, as this is when he actually begins to talk to Asta and negotiate with him about an idea. Pretty much, Julius wants Asta to become and create a new Magic Knight squad and be the captain of that squad. The reason for this one is because Asta is very clearly shown to have the strength of a Magic Knight captain, if not surpassing them, as he had been shown multiple times throughout the entire story that he's a cut above the rest. And although the other Black Bulls are definitely impressive, Asta was the one who stands out the most. His strength, his power, his intelligence, and not only that, but his maturity throughout every single point of the story really showed that Asta definitely had what it takes to be captain. But in Asta's fashion, he would actually decline this. Instead, Asta would actually offer up a new purpose. Going through his memories and remembering about his old life, Asta decides to make an actual deal with Julius, as instead of becoming the leader of a Magic Knight squad, he instead actually had an idea for a unit. Now, Asta has been thinking about this for a while now, mostly because of the fact that the way things have been going, although things have been going pretty good for him, he has realized that in other villages, such as for commoners and everything, things are way more difficult. It's not like Hodge Village, alright? Over there, they have crops and everything. Yeah, they're good. Well, I mean, they're better off than most. But in other villages, those people are legit suffering. Their homelands are not getting enough funding, and honestly, it's very hard for them to live just normally. And due to this, Asta just couldn't stand the sight of it. Now, he thought of this system as it was inspired back from his main homeland, this being the world of One Piece. So he decided to install it here. He called it the CP Foundation. Pretty much, the CPs from the world of One Piece, or better known as how I like to call them, the Ombus of the world of One Piece. That's what Asta wants to install here. The only difference was that these guys were truly going to be about justice, not the false justice that Akainu saw. Now, back in his old life, Fujitora just couldn't respect Akainu. Sure, he followed his orders because he was the main admiral, and of course you had to follow his orders, but the thing was, the way he saw justice was very cruel, very cruel and not exactly, right. He took almost anyone who was a pirate and said that was just bad, which it really isn't. Bad people aren't just based on just one person doing something. That was just messed up. But in Akainu's twisted way, he saw it like that. Asta wanted to do something similar, but not the way that Akainu saw it. No, he wanted to make a difference. He wanted to really enact justice. He really wanted to punish those who were truly bad, and those who were good were able to set free and actually live a happy life. That's what he wanted. So due to that, Julius, after hearing Asta's idea, would instantly be intrigued, as you already know that he has a ginormous, curious mind about, seeing different things. So with that, he decided to agree to this deal, only that Asta has to be the one leading it. And although Asta was at first pretty hesitant about it, he accepted it. After all, he does realize that the world needs to make a change, and hopefully this will really bring about, since with this, commoners are going to be able to get money without really needing magic. It's going to be trained like they were in the Marines back in the world of One Piece. Except this time they were truly going to deliver justice, and this time people are going to actually be treated fairly in this situation. Because you don't need magic to become a CP member. And with that, and due to the fact that he has accepted this role, he already realized that he's going to be taking a similar position of that of Fleet Admiral that he did in his old world. Not that Fujitora did, it's just that, he's pretty much taken up the mantle in this world. But he supposed he has no choice, so with that, the CP Foundation was found. Throughout the following months, Asta would continue on his training as well as training the Black Bulls, but he was not only just that, he was training his other members. He would be stopping by in other villages, as there will be many of them who at first were very skeptical about the job. After all, it sounded like a fantasy. But eventually they had accepted it after realizing the benefits that come with it. And although Asta was very firm on the rule that they must show justice and they must be willing to put their life on the line here, some of them, although they did back off from the deal, many of them agreed to it. After all, not only will their village be able to prosper from this, but they'll be able to actually help out and, bring justice to those who really need it. And with that, things begin to go like that for the following months. As the months of the story go by, and after the end of the 6 months training, everyone got a major power boost as they begin to take down the Spade Kingdom, except this time they do it with rapid succession. Now, thanks to the fact of the CP Foundation, as they legit have mastered the techniques of Rokushiki. That was the main one that was part of the technique, since the Rokushiki was devastatingly powerful and you don't really need magic to really master it. Not only that, but it was also the gateway, you can say, like the very first instance of Haki, as this allowed many members to keep up with those with high level of magic, and even some of them learned how to implement their magic into their own fighting styles, allowing them to grow stronger and take care of more enemies spread around the entire world. Spade Kingdom members were also having trouble. Even those that had connections to a demon did not stand much of a chance. Although one member of the CP would have trouble against them, these are multiple members who are learned to work together and be more controlled to take down enemies. Not only that, but each one of them have either their own unique fighting style or at least know the basis of Haki, which makes it very difficult for them to really, stand a chance against these guys. Not only that, but they're very proficient at jumping people. Very proficient at it. So needless to say, the Spade Kingdom was losing a lot more bearings that they actually intended for. And the Dark Triad, let's just say they weren't exactly happy about it. At first it started with a few bases that weren't really that important, before it actually began to go into a full-blown just attack. As legit, the Clover Kingdom and the Heart Kingdom were working so well together to the point that they were now on the receiving end of everything, and they were now backpedaling to get away from them. And this did not sit well with any of them, especially Dante. As this is when we will now turn to the man, as of course all of them wondered what was going to be his next move, until he finally talked to his own demon, Lucifero. At this, he would talk to him, staring directly at the man as he was just floating in this mindscape area, before he then smirks. I believe now it's time to listen to that weakling's ideas, Lucifero would say. As he would then end up fading away from Dante's mind, we will see Dante return back to the present, as this is when he then says that he's going to have a little chat with these insects, he would call them, as he instantly ends up flying away, with Zenon actually doing the same thing as he begins to take care of the other bases that were around. And finally, the final member would also end up leaving as well, since she just wanted to have her so-called fun. Back with Asta, we will see Asta currently now exiting out of his office, as yes, he actually got put in an office in the Clover Kingdom. While he still was a member of the Black Bulls, he had now his own responsibilities and different things that he needed to take care of. And he did also still do missions, alright? Don't think just because he's behind a desk, he's just not doing anything. Alright? Not in this world. As Asta was walking back after a long day of just, doing paperwork and also making sure to have connections to all the squads, since they were now helping out the people who were captured by, the Spade Kingdom, this is when he would then see Yuno, who was leaning up against a wall. Hey, Yuno, Asta would say as he ends up walking along with Yuno, following along with him. They will both be walking together as they begin to reminisce about everything that's been going on. As Asta, now that he has been appointed as the, founder as well as the leader of the CP Foundation, of course, felt inferior to him for a few weeks, honestly. Well, no, throughout multiple months. And due to that, he grew in strength to the point where he now is no longer the vice captain of the Golden Dawn, but instead he's actually the captain, with William actually passing on the title to after realizing that had long surpassed him. So at this point, as both of them were reminiscing, this is when and Asta wouldn't feel something was off. Throughout the training, he developed his own form of, well, I wouldn't say hockey per se. I wouldn't say he had gone hockey, but instead he's gone it's similar to observation hockey, but not really. It's similar to when, let me just explain like this. He's pretty much found a way to be constantly in spirit dive while not, completely wasting his mana completely. This allowed his senses to extend to very high degrees, and also allowed him to, finally, he's unlocking to his full potential pretty much. Now, as was sensing this is when he realized that someone had begun to infiltrate the Golden Dawn's base, even from the distance. And as he thinks this, Asta would also feel that same presence going somewhere else, a much stronger one that was heading to the Black Bull's base. Well, it looks like we're gonna have to cut this conversation short. At this, apologizes. As this when suddenly he ends up, making his wings. As this when he then smirks at Asta, telling him that he will see him again soon, with Asta nodding as well. As both brothers would then take off in the opposite direction to the locations that are currently being attacked. Back in the Black Bull's base, we will see the members of the Black Bulls as they were fighting against Dainty, and to Dainty's surprise, he was honestly having a hard time against them. The Black Bulls had gotten stronger to the point where Vanessa's thread magic was resembling that of Doflamingo. Yes, that's a pretty big amp, but yeah. Her magic was getting to the point where she was now controlling not only their fates, but also Dainty's fates. So how can I explain it? Let's say an attack had 30% of actually hitting Dainty, alright? Let's say they made an ultimate attack that only had a 30% chance of hitting him. Thanks to Vanessa's magic, is now making to the point where her threads can literally make it to where of all the possibility will actually land on the one that makes a 100% chance that it will hit. So pretty much the Black Bull's attacks are never missing as long as she's around. And not only that, but everyone else got different power-ups as well. For example, Gosha's mirrors allow him to, pretty simple. He can literally just absorb attacks into his mirrors. Like he can absorb it, reflect it right back at you. And even worse, he can even make a real-life clone of you appear and fight you. Very similar to what he did to Asta, where he made multiple clones of him. But this time, he uses his own enemy to make multiple clones of the enemy himself. And these clones are under his control, technically, since they're, I guess you could say an extension of his magic. So pretty much, Dainty is getting jumped by multiple copies of him, getting attacks that are supposed to miss him, actually hit him. And even worse, thanks to Vanessa's, normal amount of magic, where she's able to protect the Black Bulls, he can never really finish them off. So in general, he was honestly getting the work done on him. And to make it even worse, Gray was also in the mix, as any injuries that they may have taken from him would actually end up getting healed in an instant. And not only that, but these clones would be, transforming into potions and everything to the point where he was just getting annoyed with these guys. These guys were literally trolling on him. Having enough, he tries to, take care of Vanessa, as she was the one who was being the most annoying out of all of them, as he was still facing off against other versions of himself. But this is when, as he prepares to try to attack her, and Vanessa prepares to once again dodge out the way using her thread magic, this is when suddenly Dainty would then get a generous slash across his back, slamming him into the ground at rapid speeds. Well, it looks like I had nothing else to worry about, I also would say. At this, Dainty would crash into the ground at full force, as he ends up looking up with a painful look on his face. What hit me? He would say. As he looks around, he would then see from out of the cloud of dust, he would see Asta walking out with the cleanest fit. This man was rocking the Admiral fit. If you want an example, think of Garb, bro. He was running Garb's fit right there. Yeah, I can see Asta pulling it off. He'll be walking up there with his katana at his side as we'd be staring down at, just Dainty. And on his shoulder will be none other than Libe, who was just casually sitting there as he was looking at the man with the most calm expression, surprisingly. Asta, Libe would say. Asta says nothing more as, of course, Dainty tries to taunt Asta, calling him inferior to him, as he prepares to power up into his 100% form. Now, that's 100% form is pretty much as much of the demon's magic as he can use, but Asta, he's not even the one that was going to be fighting this man, no. At this, you'll see Libe now taking control of Asta's body. This was something that he learned throughout the training. As Asta was able to make it to where his body is able to go into autopilot, as instead of him being in control, he can let Libe take control. As Libe is now controlling Asta's body now, he would instantly end up getting the demon union mode as he looks directly at Dainty. It takes a lot for me to remain this calm. Honestly, had I been a younger version of me, I would have probably just rushed at you and tried finishing you off in one blow. It is crazy because if I tried to, I probably couldn't have done it back then. But now, as Dainty looks at them wondering why is he blabbling about, this is when he will then lose his arm in a second. And not only that, but he will also lose a leg as well. and he would have multiple slash marks just randomly appearing all across his body as Liebe was just casually walking towards him with the complete blank expression. This would surprise Dainty as he tries to heal using his magic, only to realize that the recovery process was hard, since there would be small bits of anti-magic preventing him from healing. What the? Is he? He's canceling out my regeneration? What the? As he tries to think of how the heck he can recover from the situation, he'll try using his gravity magic to crush Asta, only for the gravity to completely backfire. Asta's gravity was not even affected at all. In fact, he was the one getting affected by gravity. What? Does he have some type of reflection magic? No, that can't be. He has zero amount of magic. Then what is going on? At this, Liebe had learned to train and fight in Asta's body, as this was a training that Asta had put Liebe through. Normally, both of them would fight together, but in all honesty, Asta wanted Liebe to have this moment as a way of closure for him. Now, although Asta was just there, like he's pretty much if you guys want an example, think of the Pharaoh. I don't know how many of y'all watched like Yu-Gi-Oh, the original series, but think of it as Yami and Yugi. Whenever like they had to switch places, that's how it's like for Asta and Liebe in this situation. With Liebe being in control of Asta's body and Asta just floating there spiritually as he watches Liebe do his thing. As Liebe continues going on a talk, saying how he was going to avenge Lichita's death, saying that Lucifer was weak, pathetic, and that, honestly, he was a disappointment. As he said that he wanted so much to do nothing more but screaming at rage at him, realizing that, in the end of the day, he wasn't even worth his attention. He was just a sad loser in this enormous world that rejected him. And the fact that, in the end of the day, he can never truly win. At the end of the day, he never could even escape from the very domain that he was stuck in because of how pathetic he was. So after humiliating Dainty to the point where the man was now a former version of himself, like this man was cut to size truly, and he was now standing on his last legs. After finally looming over him, at this point Asta was taller than Dainty and everything, he would grab Dainty by the hair and bring him close to his face as he stares directly into Dainty's eyes. Asta's eyes had changed from the normal greenish color to a dark, and he would turn it into like a dark red. As he stares directly into Dainty's eyes, already knowing that Dainty's demon was staring at him, this is when he then says that when that time comes, he's going to return back to his homeworld. And when that time does end up arriving, he will make sure to take care of him personally. As with a few brutal slashes that no one will be able to see, Dainty's body was completely obliterated, nothing being shown at all. As with this, Liebe would then return Asta's, he would end up leaving Asta's body, with Asta now once again back into the driver's seat. As after that, Asta then ends up looking at the Black Bulls before apologizing to them, saying that he understood that this was their fight, but he wanted Liebe to have some type of closure. With Liebe, honestly, he honestly was pretty happy about the whole thing. Now, of course, the Black Bulls were, of course, okay with it, as they tell Asta that it was honestly pretty fine, and fighting the guy was just a drag, personally. One of them would say. As with that, Asta would then decide to fly off to the next location, already knowing that he still has more work to do. While back in the other location, we will see Zenon, as right now, he was getting overwhelmed, along with Vonica, as in multiple different locations, all of them were getting overwhelmed. The fight that was supposed to go in canon, where the Black Bulls would suffer their loss against the Dark Triad, was now reversed, as the Dark Triad all lost and died to their own, individuals that they're supposed to fight with. Dainty lost to Asta without the help of Yami. Yuno won against Zenon, and finally Vonica lost against Noelle. Each one of these situations that were supposed to be a key point into Black Clover's story had now been completely destroyed by the fact that they had won against each one of these individuals. And with that, Vonica, after being destroyed, actually ended up lifting Lil Pichica's curse, freeing her from, her impending doom. Another thing was the fact that, thanks to the fact, just Zenon was gone, this left that no members of the Dark Triad was there for this Bay Kingdom, leaving them to now be completely extinguished, as throughout the different locations, the CP members as well as the Magic Knights also destroyed their enemies as well, leaving them the victor. And at first, things just seemed to go exactly as it did. The Clover wins, Heart Kingdom and the Clover Kingdom have peace. Not much was really supposed to happen, right? Wrong. Because you see, unfortunately for them, one person has been planning out for too long. Although it did take him multiple years, as well, actually, no, not multiple years, multiple months, sorry, he did eventually end up finding a way for him as well as the rest of his brethren to slip out of the underworld and finally wreak terror on the surface. This being Zegrid. While these guys were, Lucifer and the rest of them were making connections with humans and everything, Zegrid did something similar like that, except his host was only temporarily. He used his host as a way to, as a gate pretty much. He pretty much used him as a gate to transfer him as well as everyone else into the real world. And not only that, but he positioned this host in an exact area where no one would truly be able to sense him, in the very center of the Clover Kingdom. Because at this point now, many of the Magic Knights were all over in different locations. Asta as well as Yuno had just left the area, and the only one that remained was Julius, which Zegrid had been studying carefully to know that that man was not a threat currently. So with this, he was now completely open to do what he needed. As this is when we then see a man in a hooded cloak, as this is when he then opens his mouth to reveal pure darkness as he coughs up a generous amount of blood. Now, one of the individuals in the street, one of the people at the street would actually see him throw up as they walk over to him asking him if he was okay, only for him to look at her with an evil look. The lady who decided to check on him would be screaming in shock as she falls over and begins to scramble back, with everyone stopping what they're doing to look. As this one suddenly the man begins to ooze dark energy from him that will begin to open up and create a ginormous circle. At this, the man would then look up into the sky as he begins to make a very demonic chant, as suddenly he will then completely just sacrifice himself, as with that, the portal has been opened up. It was a small portal, but a portal nonetheless. It was finally time for their reckoning. We would then see, as jumping from the portal, we will see Zegrid, as this is when multiple demons will then suddenly fall out of the portal, as a ginormous pressure falls upon the Clover Kingdom. Finally. It's finally time for my revenge, Zegrid would say. At this, multiple demons swarm the Clover Kingdom as everyone would be staring there in terror, while Asta as well as many Magic Knights who were far away from it would still sense the presence. Looks like we're still not done yet, Asta would say. As Asta, who's currently right now in the midst of, taking care of another member of the Spade Kingdom, since right now there were still a few of them that are still trying to get their work done, Asta would rush over to the Clover Kingdom, with the same being said with Yuno and a few Magic Knights that were on standby. As the demons would be arriving, many of the Magic Knights would be there as they tried throwing attacks at the full demon forms, but the thing was, not all of them were exactly as strong as they need to be at this point. As Zegrid would then suddenly end up using his word magic to call a generous rain of swords from the sky that was going to crumble upon the entire Clover Kingdom, pretty similar to what Lick tried to do when Julius was around. However, as the swords were about to land though, this is when suddenly a ginormous streak of dark and red energy would then form, as it completely destroys and, just erases or destroys the blaze completely. As the people of the Clover Kingdom who were panicking would then look up into the sky before smiling. He has arrived! We're saved! They all begin to cheer in bliss and ignorance, as this will cause Zegrid to be confused. Who are they chanting about? He would say. As everyone was smiling, this when suddenly he would then turn around to see the familiar face of Asta, and on his shoulder would be Libe. Looks like we arrived just on time. You, Zegrid would say, as this is when the rest of the demons would also begin to, more demons begin to appear out the portal, as Asta, seeing this, will then begin to close it up. Using his katana, he will try stabbing the portal with anti-magic, but this is when suddenly an arm would then shoot out, grabbing Asta's arm and then flinging him aside. Now, Asta, of course, was able to recover from this quite easily, but this is when suddenly a ginormous presence would then be felt. This presence actually causing many of the citizens to collapse down to their knees, as he would then reveal himself, Lucifero. Now, Zegrid was actually surprised. He did not know or even plan for this man to even appear. After all, this man was probably the head honcho, if not the strongest person out of all of them. He only thought that him and a few other demons could arise so he can then enact his revenge. He didn't realize that the full-on Demon King would actually arrive here. But he wasn't really mad at it. After all, This will just means that now the surface is theirs and no one can stop them. As Oslo would be, of course, looking at Lucifero, Liebe would be staring down at him as Lucifero would begin to say that this was going to be the end for them, the end for humanity, and the new dawn to be formed. With Asta and Liebe taking a glance at each other, Asta wouldn't smirk as he says that you have no idea how wrong you are. As with that, Asta will be staring down a generous amount of demons that begin to form out, as it will not just be them, but there will be like multiple of them all around the Clover Kingdom. Each one of them will be just floating around, ready to wreak havoc, with Zegrid throwing Asta an evil smirk, and Lucifer staring at him with cold hollowness. As Asta will be staring down these ginormous monsters, it will be looking exactly from a scene of Avengers Endgame, when, Captain America was just staring down at Thanos' army. It will look exactly like that. As Asta will be prepared for the challenge up ahead, though, he smirks as he could already feel it. In the distance, multiple people were arriving at the same instant. We would then see a flash of both water and wind, as well as blue and green energy arrive, as we see them both land right beside Asta. We will see Noelle in her Valkyrie armor, as she will be staring down at the enormous forces, as she tells Asta not to rush in so blindly, especially since they hadn't even gone on their first date yet. With Yuno arriving as well, telling Asta that he thinks that he's just going to outdo him once again, then he's going to be dead wrong. Also with Sai, as he tells them that they're childish for this situation, to which they just give him a cheeky smirk, causing Asta to sigh in a playful manner. Now, as each one of them would then arrive, we would then see multiple amounts of Magic Knight squads also arrive at the same instant, as all around they felt the generous shift of energy, and of course pulling together as one squad, they decide to appear once again, ready to fight the forces. We will see members of the Golden Dawn, we will see members of the Aqua Deer, we will see members of the Crimson Lion Kings, we will see members of every squad arriving, as well as we also see, of course, the iconic Black Bulls end up arriving as well. Magma, Luck, Vanessa, all of them had arrived, as well as the captains. Now, as the captains had arrived, everyone would just be staring down, as even the CP members had also arrived as well to fight. As everyone was just staring down at each other, the Clover Kingdom was now a battlefield. As with that, the demons would then suddenly rush at the enemies as both sides begin to fight each other, with Asta being the one to take the lead as he faces off against Lucifero, with everyone else deciding to fight against the other demons. And just like that, the ginormous war had begun. The fight of them was brutal and lasted very long. Even though at first to some it may seem for like a couple of hours, it actually lasted for multiple days. The demons were relentless as the portal was opening up, and due to that, the portal was... I ate a lot of food. But the portal was slowly becoming similar to that of a black hole, as instead of just releasing out demons and just shooting them out, now it's kind of trying to collide both worlds into each other. So it was becoming too much of a black hole, and due to that, it was becoming unstable. Luckily, Asta, after seeing that things were going to begin to sprout out of control, he decided to take care of the black hole in an instant, using his anti-magic form to cut right through it like butter. But of course, he was still in a fight with Lucifero, so he had to take a little bit of damage, but it was nothing that he hasn't felt before. While for Yuno and Noelle, they were taking care of the other enemies that were around, just slaying them all with pretty much ease. Now, Yuno, of course, was flaunting the fact that he still had a long way to go before he becomes the Wizard King, but he says that he was not going to die here until he becomes that. And along with that, we will also see the rest of the Magic Knight captains as they were fighting against the higher ranked members, while every one of the CP members were taking care of other demons, and also trying to protect the people as well. In this battle, it was going on for many days, as this truly was a battle of two worlds colliding into one, and the outcome was something to be seen. As we see Asta fighting against Lucifero, both of them were now reaching against the peak of their energies, with Lucifero actually in shock considering the fact that he's surprised that Asta is still able to keep up with him. You should be falling. You don't stand a chance. You have no magic at all. You don't even deserve to exist. He would try making Asta feel bad about himself by trash talking him, but Asta would just laugh, as he tells Lucifero that even if he didn't exist, there will always be someone like him. There will always be someone ready to take him on, and there will always be someone to put him in his place. As at the end of it all, he was never the one to be standing on top of everyone else. It was always the other way around. As after hearing this, Asta and Liebe would then go into their last attack. As this is when suddenly they then begin to call this attack the anti-erasure, which pretty much is not just simply erasing just magic, it's erasing just life force and just the very essence itself. As after getting hit by this attack, Lucifer would just be erased. And sensing the dangerous amount of anti-magic that was forming up, Lucifer would do the typical shonen, well, technically Black Clover is not shonen anymore. He would just do the typical anime thing of a villain protagonist, villain antagonist, sorry. As this is when he then creates his own warped black hole type of sword, as he stares directly at Asta before smirking. At this, both of their attacks would then suddenly end up getting shot out, with Lucifer planning to completely erase and crush Asta in the very instant, with Asta just planning to erase him from existence. Both of these attacks would then collide with each other, as it was very clear to see who was going to win this one. As Asta's attack was literally erasing the ginormous gravity sword that he created, and seeing the fact that he was about to lose, Lucifer could do nothing more but cry out in shock as he realized that his plan had failed. And with that, he was then cut down and erased, leaving nothing behind. Asta would be there as he would be panting, since that attack, it still takes a lot out of him, as it takes up most of his energy completely. He can't even use anti-magic anymore after a while. So yeah, that attack takes up everything, with even Liebe being so exhausted to the point where he was not even able to move. He tells Asta that he's going to return back to the Grimoire for a little bit for a rest, to which Asta tells him he can, as the battle was now finishing up. Back with Zagred, the man had tried his hardest to actually go into a fight with Asta, but the thing is, this man is a side villain. He ain't the one. He's not that important. So due to that, he got taken down by none other than Yuno. Wow, that's honestly kind of sad, not gonna lie. You got taken out by the second protagonist, and not even from the main protagonist. That's honestly sad. Well, let's go ahead and deliver an L to Zegfred, as with this, the rest of the Clover Kingdom end up winning against the demons. The demon round was slowed off, so that means no more of them can come out, and with that, the demons had completely fallen to the warriors of the Clover Kingdom. As with this, the warriors of the Clover Kingdom would then raise their arms up in the air and shout out a powerful battle cry as they had successfully won the battle. Now moving on, we will now turn to the next few years that passed by after this. Just like in Julius' vision, the world had taken a shift. Commoners were much more welcome and appreciated from even nobles, as there were many of them who began to show their kindness. And even those who were very cruel begin to turn over a new leaf. Well, of course, there's some prejudice here and there. That's very rarely shown, since the fact that after that battle and after realizing that legit the strongest, probably the strongest person in the entire Clover Kingdom was a commoner. So they realized their appreciation for commoners a bit more. Now, of course, you can't completely just remove some bias that they have against them. But at the end of the day, bias will exist. But the best you can do is just learn to grow with it and learn to, mature from that bias that they see. It's something that they're going to have to grow up with, but eventually they're going to grow out of it. But now, throughout the world of Black Clover, the new world was now really starting to set root into the world. The CP Foundation that was found during the time of, during the time of the Spade Kingdom. Now, that foundation has gone to become one of the biggest points of the Clover Kingdom, where a whole new military system was now going to be integrated. This system was going to be standing for truth and justice, and they were going to make sure to make the place a much more healthier and safer place. Now, as for the title of Wizard King, that would of course go to Yuno. Yuno had successfully become the Wizard King, but only because of the fact that Asta didn't want the role. He was honestly pretty pleased with his role right now, as with his role he was actually delivering peace, and although Asta was not the Wizard King, he did got the respect of one, as many people still remember the events that happened during the war, and due to that many people still admire the man and honestly respect him as one of, if not the most respected man in the Clover Kingdom. And with that being said, the Spade Kingdom was also still being looked after, as Yuno was technically still the king of that kingdom since he was the heir. But the thing was, though, since he was the Wizard King of his own kingdom, they decided that they're going to find a way to integrate the Spade Kingdom into the Clover Kingdom. pretty much expanding the Clover Kingdom into much higher realms. So yeah, that is also a big change. And as for Asta, his role, instead of just simply being the leader of the CP Foundation, he's now leader of the entire military force, and he's now gotten the title of Fleet Admiral. Now, Asta, of course, thought it was iconic since that name was, of course, known as Old World, but now it had come to this world as he has now been given it. And honestly, he was pretty happy about it. People respected him, the world was looking better, and not only that, but Asta in this timeline actually does end up settling down and actually does end up getting married. To who? I'm gonna make you guys make the assumption, alright? You guys can go and assume who it is. I'm not gonna say anything because no matter what I say, there's always gonna be another side that's gonna be either disappointed, upset, and it's just gonna straight up start complaining. And I personally do not want that. But still, with that being said, guys, this will conclude the final parts to What If Asta was Fujitora's reincarnation. Thank y'all so much for tuning into this one, guys. Oh my gosh, this was such a long recording session. Wow, I was not expecting this to nearly go on for 1 hour, but it almost became 1 hour. Now, guys, thank y'all so much for supporting these videos. These videos are very fun to make. And as much as I want to make more of them, I am a pretty busy individual now. I have a lot of stuff to do. And I do plan on making videos once again when I return and when I get the chance. But unfortunately, I can't say I'm going to make a video like tomorrow or anything like that. All right, I can't make any promises. But still, guys, hopefully you guys will still be there to support me. Thank y'all so much for supporting the channel and for still being here for me. And due to that, guys, I can do nothing more but appreciate you guys for just being who you are. And with that being said, guys, it's your host, Seiji Samurai. He's out. Have a lovely day. And be at peace with yourself. Bye.